of the Empire State Building.
Z100 New York.
It's Z100 New York's #1 hit music station. I'm Josh Martinez with my guests, girlfriends.
Hello.
What's up?
What's going
Thanks
on,
for having
guys?
us, man.
First things first. I know you guys have got the question before. Why girlfriends, right? So why?
Because it's the best band name in the world.
So interesting you say that, because in a previous interview, I believe you said you had a list of 5 names.
I did.
And #1 was girlfriends.
It was the first thing on my iPhone notes when we met up at the studio to, start like discussing the band and listening to records and stuff like that. And I was like, I have some names. Do you want to hear it? And Nick was like, yeah. And the first thing out of my mouth was girlfriends. And he was like, that's it.
Don't need to hear anything else. Just stop
so
the list
I
right there.
never told him the other names.
So the whole point of this question was going to be, do you remember the 4 other names?
I don't.
You don't?
I have the.
That would
I
be
have,
good.
Here's a hold on. I have the iPhone note because it has to be somewhere. I didn't delete it.
We gotta find
but
it.
I feel like we should just never reflect on it, right? Because we're so far deep now to where, like, if there was something that was really cool, we can't go back.
It might reinstill our confidence even more, though, seeing how bad the other ones were. But they might have been great.
But here's my thing, right? I feel like maybe this could be a social post of sorts.
That's a
where
great idea.
maybe you ask your fans if like, knowing what you know about us, if we weren't girlfriends, what do you think our names would be?
Do you have any extra time other than your radio show, bro? Do you want to like run our social media
come
for
on,
us?
let's
Because
come
you
on
got
over.
some great ideas.
Come on over.
Son, radio does not pay well.
Okay.
So I may take you up on that.
I don't know if we do either, but I mean, you could come on the tour bus and we'll have some fun for sure.
yeah.
But maybe there's a social aspect where if somebody actually gets it, they get VIP at a show.
That's a cool idea.
In a market.
I love that. Let's do it.
I love that.
You guys have been running around all year, not just in the States, but in the UK as well.
Yeah.
Avril Lavigne, Pierce the Veil. What's it been like getting back on the road to this magnitude after COVID?
I mean, one, it's a dream come true. I mean, the Avril tour especially, right? Like getting to go to Europe and play literal arenas with Avril Lavigne, bringing back like the iPhone of it all. Nick and I were texting in 2020 when we started the band, like, do you think we could ever tour with Avril?
Yeah, I remember that. And I was like, of course we can. Let's manifest it right now. 2 years later, here we are. But Europe was amazing to get to see just different cities we've never been to in our lives, but be able to play music in those cities. Milan, played the Milan Forum, which was incredible. So it was great.
Nothing can prepare you, right?
Yeah,
to like wake up in a different country every day, 15,000 people night after night. And then to be on tour with someone like Avril, who literally her whole set is hit after hit. After hit.
You forget, but then you're like, wait, she has this song too? Yeah. And it just
She's
keeps
been in the
going.
game for a while now. Now, I think the most fascinating thing about you guys, when you just look at the last 2 tours you guys did, there's Avril and then there's Pierce the Veil. Not exactly the same type of music. How do you guys fit perfectly amongst those 2 sets of crowds or audiences?
I think that's one thing that we pride ourselves in, right? Like, Nick and I grew up in the scene, and I feel like our band and the music that we make is pretty versatile in the sense of, like, we can't appeal to Avril's a little more pop leaning, right? And we have those records, but then we also like to pick up our guitar, and Nick likes to rip on the drums, and I think, more kind of heavier rock fans can appreciate that. So anytime we can get a circle pit going, we're going to do that.
Travis does that well. He actually jumped in the circle pit for a couple of shows on our last tour, and I think took a couple elbows to the face.
Yes.
I was going to say,
it's
you're
all
better
about.
than me, dog. I'm claustrophobic.
You got the Stone Cold shirt on, man. What are you talking about?
It's all a front. You hear me? It is all a front. How would you guys describe your sound, though, for people that might be discovering this interview for the first time, or maybe they just know a song or 2 that has popped off with the millions of streams? How would you describe your more sound, kind of going in more to your catalog?
I think it's a mix of nostalgia, right? Like the bands that we grew up loving and listening to. Also just kind of injecting our energy and our humor, right? Like we have songs that obviously touch on my anxiety and my depression, and then we have songs talking about thinking about someone while you're taking a shower. So it's like there's this kind of fine line between serious and, I guess, silly and fun. And I think that's who Nick and I are as people, right? And yeah, man, it's kind of back to like the music that we grew up loving and listening to. It's like what our favorite bands did for us. I think we kind of hope to do that for the people that are listening to our music.
Now, I'm glad you brought up kind of your battles you've had with anxiety and depression, because I think we all kind of go through it, so to speak, right? We should all seek a therapist at least once a month. Some of us like 4 times a week. But everything in between those extremes. I'm a firm believer that we all have to get back to even, right? Like when you're too low, you got to come back up to even, and when you're too high, you got to have to come down. But that high, you feel like you're crashing, but you're just kind of coming to an even point. What, Nick, what do you do to kind of bring yourself back to even if you're too high or even too low?
I just try and stick to as much of a routine as I can every single day. Like the discipline around doing the things that you don't always want to do, I think provide like the most sense of balance and meaning. And yeah, I think it's just like the things that are sometimes too easy aren't the best things for you. So always trying to push yourself into uncomfortable positions and being accountable to yourself. So, waking up at the time you say that you're going to get into the gym, releasing that serotonin, whether it's through the drums or whether it's through running on the treadmill, just trying to stay in a positive mindset. And I think it kind of comes down to science sometimes of like what you're releasing in your brain and the things you're kind of feeding your soul with,
Something that I believe in, and I saw this on TikTok, so I'm not taking credit by no means. Shout out to TikTok for probably helping us all.
Social media manager again, dude.
One thing that I saw was there was a guy talking about making your bed before you leave your bedroom, essentially. Right, and it's a sense of accomplishment. And growing up, I never made my bed. Growing up, not to get too personal, but my bedroom was actually my living room because, like, I grew up struggling, or whatever. And I never made my bed. There wasn't a lot of struggle. I mean, there wasn't a lot of reason to do it because struggle, whatever. So I started doing that literally in my 30s. And the sense of accomplishment that I feel before leaving my bedroom, turning around and seeing this like made bed, I highly recommend it.
Well,
if you don't already,
it's because you already have a win under your belt.
That's exactly it.
So like you start your day, and like I tell people this all the time, but like I literally make to-do lists in my iPhone, and I tell people this too. It's like it could be the smallest thing. It's waking up on time. It's making your bed. It's putting away your laundry. It's, cleaning the dishes, vacuuming, like whatever. You wake up, you do 8 things that you don't want to do. You're already winning. So like taking that energy throughout the rest of your day, like we wake up, and I believe that we have to earn the right to feel good. Everyone thinks that we should just wake up and be happy. And like, that's not how it works. Like to Nick's point, you need to go do something that you don't want to do to earn the right to feel good. And I think it's really hard to get yourself into that mind state. But I've never had a panic attack at the gym. I've never like been depressed while working out. I always walk out of there feeling better than I did before I walked in.
Never met a workout I didn't like.
Yeah. I might dread going.
After the fact.
I might dread going there, but it's like, it's just something that I have to force myself to do because I wake up in such a negative state that I have to do so much just to get even.
And I feel like a lot of people just, we should celebrate the highs, but what makes the highs sweeter is going through those lows, right? Yeah. And we all think in terms of like, I'm a diehard sports fan, right? So like with those teams that are like the dregs of the league, and then all of a sudden they win a championship and like they're celebrated even more. And if you're a fan of that team, it just tastes so much sweeter than if it was
because you had 20 years of just losing and losing and losing,
or 47 years until last night for the Denver Nuggets.
Exactly. The longest time it's ever taken an NBA team to win an NBA championship. And those lows happen daily, those highs happen daily. But then there's also like the business side of things. You guys actually had major record deals prior to the one that you're in right now, right?
Yeah.
If you had to go back in time, and I'll start with you, Travis. If you had to go back in time to give yourself one bit of advice right before you signed that first deal, what would you tell yourself?
Oh, man. That's so tough. I feel like with this band, it's truly my second chance. And I think that I had to go through everything I did, in the past and as a solo artist, and kind of watching myself mess up opportunities to appreciate what we have now. Because if I would have done it right the first time, I wouldn't have the knowledge and experience that I think we carry on into Girlfriends. So, I signed a record deal when I was like 20 years old. And
you have the world in front of you.
I was a kid, and I thought like you could just do whatever you wanted, and I think it was less about the music and it was more about the lifestyle. And I think this time around for Nick and I, the music comes first.
Nick, what about you?
I think that's a good point. I kind of go off the back of that, where like for me, I signed my first major deal when I was 17 to Sony Epic. Yeah, and like to me, I would have told myself like, be prepared to learn and focus on the business. Like, understand what you just signed, understand what you're getting into, and take it seriously. Like, for me, it definitely was more about the lifestyle then of like, look, have this record deal, let's have some fun, let's go out, let's party, let's hang, this is amazing. And I think a lot of that deterred me from the focus of what really needed to be done with that deal to be able to make my, career probably jump even farther up, in
I
a
mean,
quicker
Josh, how many
pace.
artists do you have come in here that have like one song that blows up on TikTok? They probably show up at Z100.
Yeah.
They kick their feet up on the desk. They have the entourage. Their best friend's their manager. They just spent their advance on a chain. They're not even looking at you in the eyes when they're talking to you because they're like, oh, whatever. And you're like, dude, in 10 years, I feel so bad for you.
You're giving them too much credit if you think 10 years.
But that's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
yeah, yeah.
Like,
2 years.
Too much
2
credit,
years.
You
yeah.
know what I mean? It's like, I mean, that's just like the truth of what we do as musicians. And I think some people they just think, you don't have to be nice to people. You don't have to be a good person, and it's never going to end. And it's like, truly, the same people you meet on the way up are going to be the ones kind of cheering for you on the way down.
Trillion%. Listen, I interned here 15 years ago this summer, right? So like I was an intern and at the, quote unquote bottom of the barrel. And then now I'm a pretty prominent jock on the station, and I've ran radio stations across the country to get here. So I have been on the way up for quite some time, and I've met people that, quite honestly, I remember a lot of y'all motherfuckers who are assholes to me and hitting me up now.
There
and
you
that's why
go.
you get ignored. Anyway, but you mentioned before, you touched upon like kind of the business side. How much of the business aspect of things do you guys have control over now? Whether it's kind of, obviously you guys have a lot of control of your music, clearly, but more so like, touring opportunities or even like merch, for example.
Everything.
I think it's basic. It's been nice with this project with Girlfriends to be able to kind of have that control. Like I started a record label with John Feldman 5 years ago, and so we've been lucky enough to kind of put out our first 2 albums through Big Noise, our label, which allows us to control definitely a lot more of the creative process behind how we put out records and the kind of songs we want to make, all the way down to our merchandise, the stuff that we choose to kind of design and the things we want to work on there, to the touring elements of like hitting up our friends to, have us bring them on their tours, just like we did with Avril, which was amazing. And there hasn't been a lot of like the touring agent side of this where it's like we rely on our agents or other people to make this thing move forward. Like it's been Travis and I from, 3 years ago starting this thing. Travis's relationships of the last 15 years, my relationships the last 15 years. And that's been the foundation of Girlfriends for the last, 2.5, 3 years since we started this thing. But moving forward, I think we're definitely more open to like other partnerships, other people. We're signing a new deal here soon in the next month with someone pretty cool. So yeah.
We're excited.
Yeah.
But I mean, to go back to Nick's point, it's like Pierce the Veil. I toured with them 11 years ago on Warped Tour when I was a solo artist, and they were on Warped, and I got to see the guys last night when we showed up on the road, and literally like went up, gave each other a hug, and I was like, dude, it's been like over a decade, and we're like in 2 completely different places in life. Some of them are married and have kids and stuff, but it's just crazy that like that much time can go by, and we're all about to go do this thing together in a new way. And Bert from the Used, he was on our debut album. We love those guys. They're on Big Noise as well. So it's truly like all of Nick and I's friends and kind of relationships that we've built throughout the years coming full circle with this new opportunity that we have now.
How much of a say do you guys have in your own merch currently on tour?
Everything. I mean, we design it all.
Because that black long sleeve,
Okay.
with the pink and black or
You
whatever.
want one?
Yeah.
What size are you?
I ain't gonna front. I'm a double XL and
Okay,
a double
we
long
got
sleeve.
you.
The over my dead body joint, I kind of peeped it. And I was like, I kind of like this one.
We got you.
The Fauna Walk one, I was like, I'm a little too old for that.
Well, that's
one.
how you know we have complete control over it.
exactly.
Because I don't think anyone who's like trying to like guard what we're doing would let that one
I
fly.
needed to take a double take. Yeah, because of course your eyes automatically assume.
That's called the pig Latin tee.
Yes.
Yeah.
Big fan of like I said, the black long sleeve.
We
joint.
got you. We got you.
And going back a little bit more and kind of to when you started, how would you say the music has evolved for you, going back obviously the MySpace days compared to now?
I mean, I think if anything, it's returning back to like my original form. I grew up playing in bands and in my parents' garage, and like sleeping 8 people in a Motel 6 room to go play a show like 2 hours away with like some of my best friends. And I was always the youngest kid in the band, and I think when I was like 17, all of my friends had DUIs. I was like the most responsible one, which is saying a lot. And, you know, people just weren't as committed to being musicians as me. And I got a MacBook when I was 17 and it had this program GarageBand on it. And so I just tried teaching myself how to record. Like I used to hold up my laptop, no microphone. I'd be like singing into a computer screen and I would just pull instrumentals like off the internet and I started posting them and just one thing after another, man. It was like, you can't really plan for anything like that, you know? And I think like my entire life and my career has just been not stopping and me putting one foot in front of the other because, you know, you can't fail if you don't quit.
Nick, what would you say is the biggest difference in promoting music nowadays compared to when you got your first label deal at the age of 17?
I mean, I think that there's just obviously more avenues to do it than there used to be. There's so much content today that it's just like almost overly saturated. And then when you think about, you know, the songs that actually do get released, I think there was a stat where it was like 80% of songs have less than you know, like 5 listens or something that are on Spotify and on these DSPs and stuff. So it's just a different game. There's so much of it now. So it's like, how do you cut through the noise? And there's different ways to be able to promote now than there used to be. And so I think it's just about, you got to get smart. You got to get with the right people. You got to put together real strategies. And I think you just got to keep consistency at the forefront of everything.
You got to come see Josh at Z100.
Got to come see Josh.
You do.
Yeah, Z100. That is step number 1. Yeah.
I think it's interesting because a lot of like up and coming artists will kind of say the same thing. If it's hip hop or rap, they got the hottest shit out there. They're the realest one out there. And it's like, if everyone says that, then you're just like everyone else. If you're uploading your music to SoundCloud, you're just like everyone else. So what advice would you give to up and coming artists, Nick? If you mentioned you used cut through the noise, to cut through the noise, what like words would you have to give to someone?
I would just say, like, you know, to the consistency point, I think that's huge. And I think it's just about, like, song is king, right? At the end of the day, it all comes back to like great music and great songs and the authenticity behind that music to be able to cut through the noise. I think people are easy today to like seek out stuff that's unauthentic. So to me, you know, it's like, yeah, being able to kind of put things out even on like a weekly basis now, whether it's a song piece or a video piece of content, whatever it is, it's just about getting enough out there to where that one thing's going to kind of pile through. I would say that's kind of always been my thing.
For me, I think it's about finding your community of fans, right? Because if you have, I think an artist that has, you know, 100,000 diehard fans is way more valuable than an artist who has 1 million passive listeners. People who might like their song but won't buy tickets to go see them in concert. You know, and I think we've kind of taken it back to my point about doing what our favorite bands did. Like on our second album, Emotion Sickness, we put a hidden track in there that's not on the internet. It's not on, you know, streaming services. You have to buy the physical CD and wait 4 minutes after the last track on the CD plays to listen to this song. And people come up to us at shows every time saying, like, please, are you guys going to play tonight? Like, can you please play it? We've like, so it's like doing fun things like that. You know, we've pressed our debut record on vinyl 3 times. Wow. Very limited presses. They sell out in an hour. We made the third
different looking, you know, like different covers and different styles of them.
We made our third pressing was a coloring book. So every element of the vinyl and, you know, the packaging and the sleeves, you were able to kind of design your own, and it came with a box of girlfriend's crayons and like doing cool shit like that, to where like now someone sent me a link the other day on this vinyl resale website. Like our debut vinyl album is selling for like $250.
Holy hell.
Which is nuts. It's crazy.
I think that's such a good point.
I have a couple in storage in my storage unit. Just like I'm just waiting on it.
That's a good point, though. I think like that's powerful. Finding like the community aspect of like who are your people that are riding with you early on, you know, and how do you do that and how do you develop it and sustain that?
I think a good example of that I've seen recently is Jack Harlow. So I ran radio stations in Cincinnati, which isn't far from Louisville, and that's where he's from. And I remember hearing buzz about Jack Harlow because it kind of started in like his own town, his own city, and then kind of expanded in the region, and then slowly grew to
curly hair with the clear glasses. Yeah,
a unique look, a unique flow, a unique style. But he started in that region of Kentucky and Ohio, and then just waited for that one big song, and then it kind of
There was
just
a
took
video
off.
of him playing at like Rolling Loud in like 2019,
Yep, in Florida,
and he had like 30 people, and then he posted one of 2022, and like, see, that's what I'm talking about. Like, it's so cool to see someone maintain that authenticity and stay true to like their vision as an artist and watch it actually pay off.
It's almost like you have to find your grind.
Hey, I like that.
Tell us about that.
You know, I fell into creating an education software company, you know, so it's like I'm drumming 4 or 5 months out of the year. You know, my core is in music. Find Your Grind came from music through my recording studio in LA. I started bringing kids through my studio space that didn't have kind of the exposure or access to what the music industry was like. And to me, a concept was like, how do I do this across hundreds of emerging industries and careers, but introduce these concepts to thousands of kids? So really built like a tool that lives in schools that helps kids really identify with like who they want to be, where they want to go. Tons of cool careers and industries they can check out. It's a very personalized experience to them just to become, you know, future ready kids that are walking into the world with a positive mindset, kind of knowing more about what they want to do.
So what's the site, by the way, for Find Your Grind?
FindYourGrind.com.
Simple and easy.
Yeah, simple and easy.
I discovered that, and I was like, this is so cool.
Thanks, man.
Because to me personally, I mean, and I'm sure you can attest to this too, Travis, where it's like we all sit here and, you know, as when you were in high school and you kind of have this passion for music or pro wrestling, but you don't really know how to get into it.
Yeah.
You know, and then then you start finding things that may be similar but not the real thing. So then for me it became acting because I was too small for pro wrestling, and then acting spun into entertainment, which spun into radio, for example, right? And is it true that you were like drumming with Travis Barker at a young age?
Yeah, I was like as a 16-year-old taking lessons with him.
Dog?
Dude, I know, it's so cool. I mean, he was like my idol growing up, so I think it was just like the amount of energy and attention that my mind put on him, and like Blink-182 as a band, also Travis's favorite band growing up. Like, I think kind of the universe kind of brought that to me at a young age, just because that's all I focused my attention and energy on. And played a show with him in the Transplants at Weenie Roast in 2005 with my band. So I met him backstage. I was like, dude, what does it take to take a lesson with you? And just like, he was like, yo, call my dude, Lil Chris. He'll pick you up at the gate. This is the date you're coming. Let's do it, you know? And I think he kind of just saw that in me, like I have to be doing this with you. You know, it was like just an energy. Yeah, like a hunger.
I think anytime you're in a field, because I'm sure you guys could probably feel this now, if you had someone come up to you, whether they were a producer, a vocalist, a drummer, or a guitarist, there's a certain energy and that they're giving to you, where you know, oh, this person is serious.
Correct.
Where it's you know, basically perform or die type of mentality.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Terrified to go up to his house, but I did, and it was an amazing experience. And like now coming around full circle to have him, you know, drum on our first record, which was amazing, and everything feels super cyclical sometimes, which is pretty cool.
We shot a music video for our song Tattoo, and I directed it, and it was like these two little kids that were Nick and I. And so, I mean, like, you know, little me had like, we got like movie quality, like tattoos of mine recreated,
Coolest
Nick's
video of all time.
tattoos.
Yeah.
And the kid who played Nick, his name was Colt. He learned how to play drums for the video. And so like backstage, like Nick is like teaching him how to play for the shoot. And he fell in love with drumming, like on our video shoot. And I follow him on Instagram still. And this dude is like taking drum lessons every day, has like his own drum set now, is like playing in bands at school and like talent shows. And so to like watch where it like started of like Nick trying to teach him to hold sticks and stuff to like music is like his life now is so cool.
That's got to be one of the more rewarding things, helping someone from the ground up, regardless. Even if maybe it's someone who's had aspirations of being a tour manager, and you help them. You know, they help you in the beginning selling T-shirts on the road, and then all of a sudden you find out
that's my whole life, man. Our tour manager now has been my best friend since I was 14, and we were in New Jersey yesterday, and it was crazy because he was a bartender. I was playing a festival out there in 2013, and I called him and I said, hey, I need a merch guy. Can you take the weekend off work? And he was like, yeah. I bought him a plane ticket. He flew to the festival, sold merch for me. And that was his first time ever like traveling and like being on like quote unquote tour. And now, I mean, that's his life.
His life. Yeah. But you kind of mentioned before Blink-182. So I'll put you guys on the spot. Favorite Blink song? Go, Travis.
Dude, I can't pick.
You have to. Mine is pretty mainstream. Stay Together for the Kids.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
pretty mainstream.
yours?
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead, Travis.
Dude, I can't pick. I'll say this, and this is why. I'm gonna say cliche, big song, #1 single, all the small things, but here's why.
Okay.
On the Avril Lavigne tour, night 1, we're in Paris. It's my birthday. We all go out. It's me, Nick, Avril, Femme, who was on tour with us. We're riding in the car back. We like went out to some like event, and we're coming back to the tour buses, and we put on Blink. We're all in the car. We start jamming all the small things, and Avril's like, we should cover this on stage tomorrow. And so we're like, cool. So she brings us out in the middle of her set. We play all the small things. Nick hops up on the drum set. Me, Avril, and Femme are all singing it. And then we proceeded to do that every single night of the tour. And that was
By the way,
crazy.
as you were talking, I actually got goosebumps. Like, that's really fucking dope.
Yeah, it really
Beat
was.
that story.
Yeah, I'm gonna say "Ghost on the Dance Floor," first song on Neighborhoods, which was album they put out right before Tom dipped out of the band in 2011. And now he's back in the band, which is awesome. But yeah, I would say from like a drumming perspective, it's like this 4-minute crazy song. The bridge is insane. So just yeah, I'd say that would be my favorite
What
one.
can we expect from you guys for the rest of the year and beyond?
Crazy shows on this Pierce the Veil and the Used tour. We're really excited. That's another bucket list thing for us. We're about to announce, like Nick said, a new deal with somebody really cool, which we're excited about. And when we get home, we're going to start working on more new music.
I'm quitting the band today. Done. Yeah, done.
We're making our last record.
This was our last interview.
We're making our last record.
This is breaking news. So that's it. It's over. The interview's done now. One more time, girlfriends. Appreciate you guys coming
Thank you
by.
so much,
man.
Thank you.
From the top of the Empire State Building.
Z100.